Ozonics Killerwinds podcast back again. Episode
49.
49, baby. I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
We are talking about one thing that we don't even have to say. I'm just going to cue the music.
That's what we're talking about today.
Yes, we are.
It feels long awaited following deer season. It's kind of all that we can think about.
It's officially almost turkey season. So when this episode will be airing, it will be opening day.
Opening day.
Congratulations, Iowa. Turkey season's here, baby. Time to start turkey hunting. It is time.
It's here.
The spring thunder.
It's just going to feel so good to be hunting
The
again.
Dixie chickens.
I cannot wait.
I don't know what you call them in Iowa, but
In Wisconsin, you mean?
yeah, or Iowa. They're not called Dixie chickens here.
Thunder chickens.
Thunder chickens, turkeys, turklerks, big Tommies,
Gobblers.
gobblers, big redheads.
Man, you can just hear that wind howling out there, can't you?
You actually can, like, almost through the headphones. I'll tell you what. Let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
And, you know, since you mentioned it, one of the things that I think that as the anticipation to this season got here, we had such mild winter.
Very.
Holy guacamole. And we went to the Iowa Deer Classic the beginning of March, and we talked to Zach Rinn, was down there helping us. And we were joking with him about, like, hey, man, about time to put cameras out. He's like, oh, I can't believe you guys put cameras out for spring turkey hunting, which I think is really fun.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, it really gives you some intel, even just day to day. We can get into that later. But the funny thing is we're like, man, oh man, it's just so, like, the weather's just, it's getting here fast. And it felt like everything was going to hit earlier, you know? And, but the interesting thing is since then, you know, you always say the first robin you see is going to see snow on his back 3 times. Well, they've definitely seen more than 3.
Yeah.
And so winter kind of made a little bit of a comeback, and we've had cold, dreary, rainy weather that we needed. We have been in a really bad drought throughout most of the state of Iowa. So the spring has held off, you know. You hear people talking about, oh man, their flowers are already starting to bloom or, you know, sprout out, and trees are starting to bud. It all kind of got a bit delayed, which has been good because I felt like it needed to be held back a little bit. And I think what we've been seeing on trail cameras over the last few weeks is, like, last week, middle of the week, it kind of picked up one day where all of a sudden there's just kind of turkeys everywhere.
Yeah.
But since then, it's been real slow.
Really slow.
And if you see them out and about, it's just like you would usually see early, especially in Iowa, you see them flocked up. If you're going to see 1 or 2, you're going to see 10, 20, 30. You're going to see a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And so they're really flocked up right now. But like you said, it starts this Friday, actually. And again, you know, years ago, youth season never really meant anything. It always was season 1 was the real go-go. But now with kids and taking Jet and Bo and my nephews Wyatt and Marshall going and stuff, and my brother-in-law Justin, he brings his boys and we all hunt together.
And that will already be done.
Yeah.
By the time
this episode airs. Friday, Saturday, Sunday before season 1, which is always on a Monday, youth season starts. And it's kind of a nice thing. It gives them a chance to get out there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's about here. Yeah. When this episode airs, it is here. There's probably already by 6 o'clock when this thing comes out, there's probably a lot of turkeys that have already hit the ground.
Oh, 100%.
A lot of jellyheads laying out there.
100%. Yeah, it's been funny how the spring, late winter, spring has kind of been because, I mean, the day we put the cameras out, literally like 2 hours later, there was boom, like 3 strutters like right in front of the camera.
Yep. Well, and even we've got all these cameras out. We actually have a ton of them out. So I have 5, and you have 7.
Yeah,
and we have 12 cameras between 2 permission pieces, 5 cameras on one, 5 on another, and 2 on another between 2 permission pieces. Yeah. And so we've got cameras out.
Yeah.
There's really only one spot within there where we kind of were like, well, maybe we should move this one or that one. And you've had some cameras that are pretty dead.
Yeah.
But, you know, we talked about this a couple weeks ago that you're like, man, I'm just not getting anything on these cameras. Like, they're so dead. But the thing that I made a comment about with that is sometimes cameras that are really slow, that's still giving you good information because it's showing you that they aren't there yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's been times, again, before cell cams and really before scouting for turkeys in the spring with cameras, where I was kind of going on a hunch if I didn't have a lot of time to do some scouting, or even if I did, sometimes, you're like, man, I really think I should go here. Well, now the cameras tell you that, man, there hasn't been anything there. Nothing walking down that tree line for the last 2 weeks. So it helps you kind of eliminate where you might look.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the 2 cameras that are kind of off by themselves, that's what they're doing for us right now.
Yeah.
If we get turkeys on there, that's going to be okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, of all days, the last few days, we've been kind of sitting here twiddling our thumbs. We're like, okay, come on, cameras. Like, let's go. Where are you, turkeys? Like, how are you not walking by cameras? We've got them in spots where you usually would walk by.
Yeah.
And they haven't. But then all of a sudden today, we get a couple nice Tommies, a couple Jakes.
Yeah.
Walk by one camera, then all of a sudden, boop, they're over here on this other camera at 10, 11, 12 o'clock in the morning. And that's valuable information right now when it's Wednesday and I'm going to be out there on Friday.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I think the thing that's going to be really cool this year, especially is kind of looking back at last year.
Yeah.
Especially for you, being last year was your first year turkey hunting.
Yeah. I'm super excited to, be able to have something to compare this season to finally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just going to be cool to see the differences and how weather is, even, bird behavior throughout the year, given, what season you're in and stuff like that. So I'm really excited just to get after it again. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think the big difference that one of the things I think that you'll notice, kind of what you just said there about I've never heard it called bird behavior, but that's kind of a good way to put it. One thing I'll say about turkeys before I say what I'm about to say next is the one consistent thing about turkeys is there's nothing consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things about turkeys that's so interesting, and you hear a lot of different guys talk about this all around the country, is you can be a world-class caller, you can be a world-class turkey hunter, you can have 10, 20, 100 birds under your belt, and you can go out on any given day, and they just, for whatever reason, just don't do what you want them to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just weird. You can just feel like you got it all figured out. You got the perfect call, perfect mouth call, perfect slate call. You've got them in the perfect spot, and they just come down and they don't listen and they walk the other direction.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just the nature of the beast. I think for me, that's what makes turkey hunting so exciting and so fun. Is the challenge never stops. It never feels like you've just got it all the way dialed in.
Yeah.
But to your point a minute ago, I think I noticed that difference between you and me last year. I would see a tom come out, or a tom with hens, or a tom with jakes, or multiple toms, and I was really paying attention to, okay, which guy's strutting, which ones are just following behind, which one's leading the way, or there's a lone tom that's not strutting on the field, that's gobbling but not strutting. One of the things that happens in the month of March when they are flocked up, and continues to happen as the spring goes on, is from my experiences, these toms really start to establish their pecking order on who is the dominant bird and where everybody else falls.
Yeah.
And I think last year I tried to kind of explain a lot as we were going, but you heard me a lot of times talk about spending a lot of effort and, brain power, just time figuring out, okay, what do I want to do for deeks right now?
Yeah.
What do I want to do for deeks based on what I've seen and what part of the season it is, and da. And I think last year, a lot of that, it kind of just went over your head a little bit, right? You just didn't make much difference. But I think as the season went on, you started to see some of the stuff I was talking about unfold.
Yeah, exactly. While you were explaining all that was going through my head was, like, you were telling me all that stuff, and like I needed to experience it to understand it.
Yeah.
And I think every single thing that you just said, I was able to experience it.
Yeah.
With a pretty not very many hunts too, but like I saw it all, and I saw how a non-dominant bird can act, and how the decoy setup can affect the birds as well. And it's like, I think that was, kind of the highlight of last year, was being to experience those things and then also learn from it too.
Yeah.
And I know that I just said that I'm excited to be able to compare from last year, but I'm really excited just to keep learning about it, because it's super interesting and it's super freaking fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think the other thing I mentioned, right, as we're talking about this, and again, if you're listening to this, you probably know this, but it's worth saying, the style of turkey hunting that I do is I am a archery turkey hunter. I'm a bow hunter.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of, I buy archery only tags for state of Iowa. I usually buy 2 because nice thing about archery only in Iowa is you can buy 2 tags for the whole season. You can hunt whenever you want.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I don't have to pick a 5-7 day tighter window, so I do archery only. But again, when it comes to bow hunting turkeys, especially the style that I do and the method that's worked out for me is sit and wait.
Mm-hmm.
Sit in a ground blind and wait. It's interesting because I have the tendency, my brain is like, well, that's just how you turkey hunt. And I've turkey hunted a lot of different ways. That's not the only way to turkey hunt. Mentioning Zach Rinn, we had that conversation in Iowa, and he just kind of rolls his eyes.
Yeah.
Because, Jason Mears, another great example. He's like, oh man, I ain't doing that. He's like, I love spring turkey hunting because it's a run and gun.
Yeah.
Like Zach Rinn, he'll get to a high spot or get to wherever he can hear a bunch of the property. He waits to hear him gobble, and then he is taking off, and he is covering ground and closing the distance.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that a lot of guys do is it's gotten very popular the last 5-10 years is reaping turkeys, meaning using some sort of fan and getting close to them and then having that fan and trying to go at them, trying to get them to come at you, so, and again, like even sitting in a ground blind, there's guys that like what I do, they sit in a ground blind, they wait for a turkey to come towards them in a ground blind. And then there's some people that bow hunt just flat out on the ground, don't even use a blind, hunt it very much. And then they try to run and gun with a bow like they would a gun. So, there's lots of different styles. Like I feel like for me, what I've realized, and it's interesting because when I first really got into turkey hunting as a younger guy, I got to go to Missouri and hunt with a good friend of mine. He was a wildlife biologist. And it was funny because up to that point, like when I was in like high school and stuff, and I'd hunt with friends, like we just run and gunned all the time. I remember as a kid going to a spot on the Iowa River where we would walk, and there was these big pine trees, and we could walk underneath them, and you could walk underneath them, and you could look up, and you could see the birds roosted above you.
Yeah.
And they would just stand right there. And we would just chase them all over Tarnation, just run and run and run and bump them, and then go to the next one and run and run and run and bump them and go to the next one and then kill one and then be carrying one out and try to chase another one. I mean, we were just going. And when I went down to Missouri, I was just going to be hunting with a shotgun. And it was funny because he didn't do it that way. He very slowly and meticulously walked in. He knew roughly where he wanted to be. It wasn't even where the turkeys were gobbling in the morning. Yeah. And I'm like, it was driving me crazy because I'm like, geez, man, like they're over there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he just sat there. He had a birding book and he read his book. He's looking at birds and he's marking them down his book. I'm like, this is boring. Like this is not what I would sign up for. Yeah. But sure enough, 9 o'clock, 10:30, 11:45. In Missouri, it's a 1 o'clock curfew. Yeah. Right. And all of a sudden, there they were, and there they came, or they would come off and they would gobble away, and all of a sudden they started gobbling back and gobble back, and he would barely call. Yeah. And they would just, it just completely changed my perspective. And I think that was kind of the seed that got planted in me that I was like, you know what, maybe I should and that was when I was obviously an avid bow hunter at the time too, but I thought, you know what, I could do this with a bow. Yeah. And there's a lot of guys, 10, 15 years ago that were bow hunting turkeys too, but, and that's really what it's turned into for me is I sit in a ground blind and I wait. And that might mean that it might not be action packed, at first light or an hour in or 2 hours in, but feels like sitting in a ground blind for turkeys. It's a light switch.
It is.
When it's off, it's off. But man, as soon as that switch gets flipped on, you better be ready. Oh, yeah. Because if you get them in the field and you get them strutting and they know you're there, it doesn't work out every single time because there are times that they come in and for unbeknownst reason, they just turn and walk off. Yeah. But you better be ready to rock. Oh, yeah. And I look back at my phone. I actually keep track of a thing where I keep, I call it first gobble. I just have a note on my phone that I created. And I've kept track of first gobble 23, 22, 21, 20, since 2020, I just go, I'm just going to jot this down. And it wasn't long last year. I hunted opening weekend with Bo and Jet and Wyatt Marshall, and Jet killed one on the first Sunday of youth. And then I killed one the second time you and I went.
Yeah.
Which would be the end of first season.
Yeah.
And then boom. I think that was funny for you because you're just like, man, I just want to see him. I just want to hear him gobble. I just want to hear him strut. I'm like, oh, we will,
Yeah.
And it can be a bit disheartening at first because you're sitting there and you're just kind of looking at a field.
Yeah.
You look at a field edge, you're just kind of looking down away and there's nothing. And then you look over and then there they are.
Yeah.
And so I would say that if you're in the market to try to do something different, a different type of style or method, and you want to bow hunt turkeys, the number one thing is patience. Man, you got to be patient.
Yeah, exactly.
And running and gunning is fun too. I think part of it for me too is I don't hunt a lot of public ground for turkeys. I have in the past, but right now I hunt a lot of permission pieces, but they're not 1,000-acre permission pieces.
Not very big.
So to run and gun and bump them off, man, that gets really tricky.
Yeah. Yep.
But I will say, a couple years back, and we can put the picture up right here. My neighbor Jerry, what year was that? I think that was 2021. Yeah, 2021, May 12th. Late. I was in this bottom field, and the farmer, the DNR, had come in, and they had spray broadcasted ryegrass. So they bring in a plane and they dip it down over the trees and they spread out all this seed in the fall, like a cover crop. Mm-hmm. In the spring, that ryegrass just exploded. I have pictures. It was knee high. It was unbelievably tall. Well, right at the end of the season, it made a real tricky turkey hunting. I was like, gosh, dang, you can't hardly see him. Well, sure enough, here comes this Tom and 4 or 5 Jakes, and we're watching these Jakes just pester this Tom all the way across this field. Finally, he got down in this corner where he was all by himself, and you could just see his head. Every once in a while, you'd see his fan just for a sec come back down. His head, fan go up, come back down. And I was throwing everything at the kitchen sink at him. We were sitting in a ground blind, but Jerry's like, I'll just bring a gun. He had a 4th season. I think it was a gun bow combination. We'll just sit in the ground blind. I'm like, okay, because he had seen it work. He'd been with me and we'd had luck. So mid-morning, I had one of those Killer Gear turkey fans. And late morning, mid-morning, I'm like, you know what? He is not coming over here. I'm like, you saw those Jakes bother him, and then he walked off. They walked off. He's by himself. I feel like he's the dominant bird. Like, we could maybe make a move at him. The grass is tall enough. It just felt like it was all in line. Let's try it. So sure enough, that's what we did. We got out of the blind. I popped up that fan, and he got behind me. The gun was unloaded, but he was carrying his gun, and then I was holding the fan, and I ranged it at first. It was 625 yards, corner to corner. I'm like, okay. I knew where he was. I could see the tree behind him. That I was like, okay. I just kept ranging tree. Okay, 500, 400, 300. And I kept yelping and kind of just mouth gobbling and stuff as we went. And we kept closing the distance. There's a little peep hole in that little deal. So you can like put this flap down. You're looking through, you're looking, and you flip it back up. And I'm peeking over the fan, 100 yards, 75 yards, 50 yards. I'm like, I look and I can see his head just sitting there looking at us, I'm like, and he's not moving a muscle. I'm like, all right, dude, here we go. I'm like, get ready. Step up here, put one in. Like, we're going to keep moving forward and we're going to get close, and then you're going to have to shoot him. And we got under 30, 25, and I'm looking, I'm like, all right, dude, here we go. And he stepped up and he shot and he missed. He missed. I was like, oh my gosh. Well, it took off. It kind of disoriented him at first. Like, whoa, what was that? And they kind of stand there for a second, like trying to get their brain to catch up to what their body's doing. And he takes off running. He kind of just takes off trying to trotting down the field edge. And I'm like, and right away, I'm just like, shoot him again. So Jerry's pulls up and he just kind of following him. Boom. And just rolls him. I mean, just crappie flops him. So I, of course, how I am, and I take off like a madman and I go jump on him and wring his neck and I'm picking him up. And everybody within a 4-mile radius could have heard me scream. I don't know what it is about turkeys, man. They turn me inside out. Like you heard it last year. I just go berserko. I mean, I really do. But yeah, you just never know what type of technique. It's nice when you can carry a fan like that, or you have to be willing to kind of adjust.
Yeah.
But I think the temptation is bow hunting is like, gosh, let's get out and let's go do that. This is boring. They're over there. just wait it out.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times did we sit till 10:30, 11 o'clock, not see anything all morning, and you look out, you're like, "Boom, there they are."
Yeah, exactly.
You know, all of a sudden you're sitting there and it's been 3 hours, and then you hear like a faint gobble, like not loud like that, but real faint.
Yeah.
And then here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, it's gonna be a really interesting season. Like we talked about earlier, it's been kind of slow. It's been a little slow right now, which is nice. And they're really flocked up. You know, the other thing I was going to mention that I kind of wanted to talk about was, and it's something that, you know, I feel like I've been very aware of what I do, but I feel like last year, especially you being there and you hunting for the first time, you know, Jet, he's 6'5", 6'7", or 4, 5, 6. He's been so little, like I'm trying to kind of like teach him as we go, but some of the stuff like, you know, I'm not like going into this insane detail.
Right.
But like with you were just like asking me lots of questions.
Yeah.
And so it was funny, you'd ask me, I was like, I don't know why I do that. I never really thought about it that way. Like, why do you scratch your striker again? Like, why do you call like that? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, that's just what I do. I don't know why I do it. That's how I do it. But one of the things I think that you really made me aware of is, and we mentioned a little bit ago, is decoy setup.
Yeah.
And I really had to kind of start, you know, kind of putting my thoughts, you know, into a specific order of why I do what I do when I carry decoys. And I think what I've always done and what I would say right now is early, you'll see a lot of birds flocked up. That pecking order is still being established. You know, if you look at a tom at the beginning of the season and you look at him at the very end, he's most likely been in a couple fights. Yeah. He's gotten his butt kicked. He's maybe won a couple. He knows where he stands.
Yep.
Does that make sense? And so, you know, I think earlier I generally set out more decoys. I'll set out like these last couple of years I've been using Dave Smith decoys. Before I used to have taxidermied turkeys that I got from a taxidermist. That was a full strut tom and a couple hens. That's what I used. It was either a full strut tom or a couple hens or just a couple hens. Or I had a couple like little small kind of janky decoys. But I made the investment in those Dave Smiths because they just look so awesome.
Yeah.
They're easy to carry. They're easy to set up. They're next level good. I mean, they're so good.
Yeah.
They look great in the light. They reflect the light really good. I mean, they shine just perfect, just like that sheer and that shine that you see on a, you know, just a nice spring bird, you know?
Yeah.
And I think what I've started to do early is I'll put out more decoys. I'll put out a posturing jake and a standing hen. Last year, I actually incorporated a humping jake that stands over a laying down hen.
Yep.
Man, and it's actually, you can connect a string and you can pull on it and it kind of moves back and forth. It gives a little bit of motion.
Yeah.
Holy guacamole, that worked out great early.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, just to give it a little bit of motion when he was coming in and just kind of move it a little bit and then stop.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you just really started coming in. But then I think what I notice is, and a lot of times early as well, I'll even put out just like a hen. And when I had that full strut tom, I'll put out a full strut tom. Man, they'll come in early on those full strut toms and just wanting to fight.
Yeah.
You know? But then I think as the season goes on, that 2 or 3 or 4 decoy setup can get a little trickier. They get real picky, you know? Mm-hmm. Like all of a sudden you get that bird that's been in a fight and he's like, like I see you, I hear you, I'm interested, but I don't want to get my butt kicked. Yeah. Are you the guy that whooped me yesterday? Like, we're good. Yeah. You're cool. Like, I'll go this way.
Yeah.
So then what I start to do is I start to shrink everything down. I start to just do, I said this to you earlier before we started, like when in doubt, just put one out, you know, like I'll go out with just a single hen.
Yeah.
Just literally just a single hen. That awesome video we got last year towards the middle of the season, towards the reel, that real sweet spot was a single hen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and so, or it was a single hen and a laying down hen, just hens.
Yeah.
No posturing jakes, no strutter, no anything, just hens.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden where they go, okay, I don't feel threatened by that. I don't see anybody else around.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not the type of guy that's like, I don't know if it's like a purist or whatever you would want to call it. That's like, you know, and I actually asked Jason Mears about this. Not that he's a purist, but like just to hear his perspective. I'm like, when you get a bird coming in, because he gun hunts a lot, I'm like, you know, do you like glass up their spurs? Like when they're walking in, like, are you looking at that? And he's like, yeah. Which I'm like, huh. Because I'm never thinking about that. I'm like, are you strutting? Do you have a long beard? Did you gobble? You're a Tom? Yeah. Shooting you. You know, like I don't like to shoot Jakes if I don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, but like, I'm not like looking like, oh, that spurs aren't big enough. I'm going to let that guy go. I don't know. I don't think I see enough turkeys to do that. Mm-hmm. But, so yeah, I think as the season goes on, maybe try less decoys. Yeah. Maybe put out just hens. Make yourself look kind of less threatening.
Yeah.
And it's weird though, because the one thing I'll say, it's kind of interesting because I feel like this has been coming up a lot. This 20-60-20 rule, you know, these things that I'm talking about, like more decoys at the beginning, less decoys in the middle at the end, that seems to be like the 60%. But there are times and outliers where at the beginning, I may only put out a hen. Yeah. And at the end, I may put out all of them again.
Yeah.
And I've done that and had it work. But, you know, just like I was talking on my phone, how I keep track of first gobble, I write down the time, which is actually kind of handy because the next year I can go, okay, what time roughly did I hear gobbles? I know what time I should be out there. What day are we killing? How much they weigh? You know, you could even write down, what'd you do for a decoy setup? What type of experience did you have on that day? Because I think that can really help you decide what you're going to do as the season unfolds.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can pick the right spot and the birds can be there, but if you've got the wrong decoy set up, it can make it really tricky.
Yeah, we saw that last year. I think one of the hunt that really turned the season around for us was when you called that one in from way far away. And I mean, you called them all the way across the field, and then you got right to the decoy setup, and then just turned right around. And then the next two hunts after that was when you went to less. I think it was the standing hen and the laying down hen, and it was just like boom.
Yeah,
those toms were in on the decoy setup, and that's where we had a lot of luck.
Yeah.
You know,
the way that turkey was acting specifically.
Yep.
It was crazy because, you know, I'm a slate call guy. I love a slate call, and I still use a mouth call too. But when in doubt, I'll hit my slate, and I'll do a yelp, maybe a cut yelp, you know, type of thing. And man, it's just the funniest thing. Sometimes you do that, and you're like, you know, you look at each other like, did you hear that? And and then you're like, and then I always wait like a weird amount of time. It's like, okay, I'm gonna call again, like in this very specific moment. Let's see if he gobbles. So you do it, and all of a sudden you're like, and right away you're like, that was totally a gobble, you know? You know, you're like, that was totally a gobble. And you know that's exactly what it's like. You're like, that was it. And you're like, okay, let's just wait a little while longer now. Don't get excited. Probably not gonna work out. Let's just call one more time. And I get myself all positioned right. I hit that slate call. And you're like, okay, that's not a coincidence. You know what I mean? And then you sit there for a while and you just wait. And you're like, okay, got to play hard to get. Don't get too excited. Don't want to overcall, you know? So then you slate call again. And you're like, oh, that's definitely closer. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, oh yeah, he's closer. So then you're like, oh baby, here we go. You know what I mean? Here you go. So then now you think you're getting into it. So then you slate call again. And you're like, well, crap, now he's farther away.
He's facing away.
Well, what happened? What did I do wrong? And then all of a sudden it just can go like radio silent. And you're like, well, come on, guy. Like, let's go. Like, what are you doing? Like, you gobbled from Timbuktu. You came to Milwaukee. Like, let's go. Close the distance here, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's go. Come into the field. So then you finally call again, just a little light yelp. And then he's there, baby.
Yeah.
Yep. And then he's finally there. But the funny thing is the way that turkey acted, he came on the field, and he came on the field with his head straight up.
Oh, yeah.
Real straight up. And it's funny how they try to act like disinterested.
Yeah, pecking around.
Yeah, pecking around. They kind of look up. They like maybe strut for a second and then go right back down and just kind of peck around. It was almost like he was trying to fly under the radar.
Yeah.
Gobbled the whole way. So how is he flying under the radar?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? All of a sudden they get in the open and they're like, no, man, that wasn't me. I'm cool. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just like hanging out. Like, you know, maybe I want to go and, you know, hang out over here with these girls, but like, I'm cool. Like,
Yeah.
I'm harmless, And that's what he did. And he just kind of kept pecking along, and he kept walking our way. And we had a little bit of a rise right before, and he got behind that rise. And you remember talking like, gosh, there's like I really look for his head. Like he's either going to like really calm or he's going to act really finicky.
Yeah.
And we barely saw his head, and he saw that decoy set up and got close enough. He got a really good look at it, and he turned and was gone.
Didn't even see him again, I don't think.
Nope. He got down in that dip and was into the woods.
Yeah.
And once he was really kind of looked like he was pot committing, the other big thing that I do is, man, I physically have to put my call down, take the mouth call out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Because I'll call, and you don't need to, right? It's, you always hear that thing about like, there's the movie Hitch with Will Smith years ago. He talks about like the 90-10, like you have to come 90, she has to come 10 when you're kissing. Yeah. That's turkey hunting.
Yeah.
You come 90, but they still got to come 10. Like, don't go 100.
Yeah.
Don't be too excited. And so a lot of times when I get them and I can see them, I'll just put it down.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. Not that the calling scared him away. He saw that decoy set up.
Boom.
Nope, I'm out.
And just to make sure everyone knows, that was the full decoy setup. That was
we had the posturing.
Everything that you had, I'm pretty sure.
And that's the thing and that's a lot of times what I'll do too is if I get it working, I'll work it until it stops working.
Yeah.
And that kind of full decoy with the posturing Jake, the humping Jake, the hens, that was working early. It worked.
It was.
Jet shot one. You and I killed one.
Yep.
It was working. Worked. And all of a sudden there was just that one day. You're like, well, I guess that's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we went to a double hen, single hen, no Jakes, no posturing, anything.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it was just like, whew.
Yeah.
And and it got really, really hot.
Yeah, it did.
The one thing I think that's really fun about turkey hunting too, and I think it's funny because turkeys to me feel like a big game animal. Mm-hmm. They're not. They're a bird.
Yeah.
But man, it sure feels like a big game animal. And I feel like one of the things that I think you experienced this last year is I think what gravitates a lot of deer hunters towards turkey hunting is the rut.
Yeah.
The rut during the fall is a magical time. It is a magical time. When you get in that sweet spot, it is just like, holy guacamole, everything's going right.
Yeah.
Where did you come from? It's so cool to see those bucks like in their full glory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
They just look like, they just look like studs, It's like they've been working out all year and they're at the weightlifting competition.
Yeah.
They're doing their poses and they just look like they are in it.
Yeah.
And you think about it, a turkey, man, it's got a tough life. Roosting trees all winter long, the wind and the snow and bobcats and coyotes and hawks and everything chasing them and trying to eat them. And it's a tough life. Mm-hmm. And they get into the spring and it is time to strut, baby.
Yeah.
And when you get in that sweet spot, it's just it's really fun. And I think at the beginning you were hoping, and I think there's this connotation with a lot of stuff that's out there that everybody watches, that every time you go turkey hunting every spring, it's just going to be like just hammering.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work that way.
Right.
It's a bell curve. It crescendos, it goes up and up and up, and then it starts to come back down.
Mm-hmm.
You're still way up here, but it's starting to come back down the other side. And if you can find it on this up or right at the top or just down the other side, man, it's really fun.
Oh, yeah.
And we saw that last year, end of first, going into second season. That was when it got really, really good.
Yep.
It was really second season.
Yeah.
It was when it was that magic time. That's when we really were in that sweet spot.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, Justin, he works full-time job. He farms on the side. He's calling me all the time. Hey, how are they acting? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Because he's looking to figure out, are they in that sweet spot?
Yeah.
Are they just absolutely hammering right now? And I think we all do that with deer hunting too. I've been moose hunting in Alaska. Same thing. You always hear everybody talk about somewhere between, after the 15th, between the 15th and the 25th, man, you can really find that sweet spot where all of a sudden those bulls just start kicking on.
Right.
And that seems to me, there's that same thing with turkey hunting. If you can get in that sweet spot, man, you just better be ready.
Right.
So talking about the sweet spot, I was going to just go through the season dates. Because I think sometimes, heck, even me, we went and got our tags the other day. I was like, I know you season opened Friday. I was like, when does first season? I'm like, how many days is it? I was a bit different than other places. I actually was talking to a guy at the Wisconsin show. There was a couple guys right an aisle over that were selling turkey calls.
Yeah.
And he just, those guys, hey, you need turkey call? I'm like, man, dude, I got more calls. I'm good. I'd love to look at them, but I'm not, you don't need to, if there's another guy walks up, pitch them. Like, I don't want to waste your time, but I'd love to look at them. And he's, where are you from? What are you, da-da-da. And we started talking about Iowa and Wisconsin. And he said, yeah, it's interesting. He's like, you guys start earlier. And he goes, man, I wish Wisconsin did that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Iowa does start earlier than Wisconsin, for example.
Yep.
But then Wisconsin goes like to Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is I look back at my first gobble note that I keep every year, and not that I haven't killed turkeys the second or the last week of the season, or even 2 years ago, the very last day. Yeah, man, it feels like it gets tougher.
Yeah. When
everything greens up, not only is it harder just because it's greening up, but it's harder to hear them. The foliage dampens the noise. You can't hear a turkey gobble and that gobble echo through the woods like you can right away.
Yeah.
It's not that the turkeys aren't going to walk around and do their thing, but it's harder with deek setups, right? Because it's just taller grass. There's more foliage. It's harder for them to see it, Sometimes the foliage can be handy though, because you can sneak around a bit more, right? Like early like this, you can't walk 200 or 300 yards through the woods and not have a turkey see you. It's just not possible. But it's interesting because then you look at like Nebraska. Nebraska's already going.
Oh yeah.
There's some places that have already been in the Midwest that have already been going for a bit. It seems like when I was talking to him, and I think you would agree with this, you would almost rather have more time at the beginning and less time at the end.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's still cool to get to be out there in turkey hunting because, I mean, the grass is always greener on the other side, no pun intended, at the end of the season. But when I was over them, I was like, I want to still turkey hunt like tomorrow, but I can't.
Yeah, I remember that last year. I went home to turkey hunt and you were...
I was hangry.
You're like, can I just go with?
Yeah.
I'll just call.
I'll just look. Can I just watch? Like, I just want to be there. I just want to hear I just one more gobble.
Yeah.
And I think that's the funny thing that, we talked about this last fall after Idaho. I love elk hunting. But if you had, a choice between turkeys gobbling or elk bugling, man, give me turkeys gobbling every day.
Yeah.
When I hear a turkey gobble, I want to hear it again.
Yeah.
And as soon as it gets done, I want to hear it again.
Yeah.
And I want to hear it again. There's just something that's a spark and excitement that I can't describe about a turkey gobble. And that maybe sounds silly because I think a lot of Western guys like turkey gobbles. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. For some reason, that just really does it. And maybe it's just like I said, the way I was raised and turkey hunting as a kid and stuff. But it's just something about it just really revs me up.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, so to get back on turkey dates, let me see here. Let me get on my thing here. Okay. So youth season is always 3 days before first season.
Yep.
It's always a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's this, which will have already been the 5th, 6th, and 7th. When this airs, we'll be in first season. First season, April 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's 4 days. So that's Monday through Thursday. And then the second season is 12 through 16 of April. Third season is 17 through 23. And then fourth season is April 24th through May 12th.
Yep.
I was actually kind of surprised when we went to Fleet Farm. You really threw a curveball in there. So we should show the mullet because it's getting really glorious. It is really, give him a little shake, give him a little shimmer shake on that thing. Look at that thing, man. So I know you can't see this if you're listening to it, but we've talked about this before. Nick, we have a bet that Nick had to cut his hair into a mullet and can't cut the mullet until he kills a turkey. So my spring turkey hunting goal is in no particular order. I'd love to get Bo a turkey. I would love to get Jet 2 because he's been on this 2 turkey streak here for a while. And I would really love to get you one. After that, and I really love to see my nephews get one. That would be pretty cool. If I don't get one, I'm not that worried about it. It means way more to me to see Bo, Jet, Wyatt Marshall, you. That really makes my day.
Yeah.
If I could go, everybody else gets turkeys, I don't see one the whole season, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I really feel like that's my mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go, but I really want to get everybody else one.
Yeah.
But when we went and got our turkey tags, I won't say it's a mistake, but a couple years ago, I gambled. I had been doing this 2 archery only for a long time. And this one year I was like, you know what? Man, it'd be kind of fun to have the option to go with the gun. You know, you never know. Just maybe, you know. Well, in 4th season, if you get an archery only to start, or either way, you can get a gun bow combination for 4th. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do an archery only, and then I'm going to gun bow combination it. So I just went to the store and I just bought it like that. So I went out the first day and I already had it that way. So I knew it was a 1 only to start, and then I had to wait till 4th season.
Yeah.
By sheer luck, I shot a turkey opening day with my bow. Boom, done. Like 1 down. So I had jet to go, and I actually think Tatum got a turkey that year, and this and that and this and that. But I had to wait those couple long weeks until 4th season started to get back out there with a gun or a bow. And I couldn't get a turkey in front of me to save my life. It was all but wrapped up by 4th season. I mean, I couldn't get anything to work. I'm like, golly. Like, I think I went out one day and I didn't even call. I didn't do anything. I just sat there. I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and maybe see if one walks by because I can't do anything right. I couldn't get one for the life of me. So after that, I kind of swore that I was only going to do 2 archery only. So I'd done that the last how many years?
Yeah.
Just do 2 archery onlys. I was real fortunate a couple years ago. I shot a double. That was pretty cool with my bow. I thought you would get an archery only, obviously, to start, because that's what you've been talking about. But I thought maybe you would get a gun bow combination. No.
Nope. I didn't even want to have the option.
You went straight for it.
Yeah, because I just...
Two archery onlys all the way.
Yep, 2 archery onlys. Now I just have I can't even think about taking a gun, and that's the way I wanted it.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. That makes me think about, we were talking about this the other day. When I went moose hunting in Alaska, when we got up there, the first time I went moose hunting, there was this old timer that was it wasn't an outfitting business. It was like a flight service. So he was like the owner of the flight service, and he rented you gear, kind of like an outfitter would, but then he had pilots that flew people in. And you get there and you meet him and this and that, and he, gets to talking to you and is like, well, what'd you bring? Bring gun or bow? Brought a bow. Did you bring gun too? Nope, no gun. My buddy Jim, gun or bow? Nope, only brought a bow. Did you guys bring gun? No, no gun. He goes, you'll definitely kill him. And I'm like, what? And he's like, first off, you'll definitely kill moose, and you'll definitely kill him with a bow. I was like, okay, well, I can guess I get part of it, but how do you figure on the other part? He goes, listen, if you bring a gun, if you have a bow and you have a gun, you're going to definitely kill him with a gun.
Yeah.
He goes, but if you bring a bow and you don't have another option, you're going to kill him with with the bow.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
And when I used to guide, it was very much the same way. The guy was, now again, it was archery season,
right.
But during the turkey season, it could be a gun or a bow, right?
Yeah.
And guys would start with the bow and then be like, let's just go kill one, you know? I think it's cool, man. I mean, it's cool to commit to it. And and again, I think, like we talk about, I think that archery only hunting them as well opens up possibility.
Yeah.
Because you see me, what I do. I really look for those perfect days, meaning the nice calm day.
Yeah. Yeah.
A real nice calm day, not raining preferably.
Right.
And then I'll try to really maximize that, because there are times when you're having to pick that you're like, well, I got to push because it's second season. Right. And then second season, weather doesn't work out. It's real windy, just kind of crummy, and you just don't have a lot of good days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But
the other thing that I think that you and I have been talking through a lot, and I think you experienced this last year hunting in Iowa here, but then also going back and hunting with your cousins in Wisconsin, is I think one of the big differences that I've experienced gun hunting compared to bow hunting is gun hunting. It's one of those things where, there's kind of like different steps. In bow hunting, there is, you gotta call them in.
Yep.
Then you got to get them, you got to call them in, get them close. But then you have to get drawn, and then you have to kill them.
Yeah.
It's a 3-part deal.
Yep.
It feels like with gun hunting, it's more draw them in, get them close, kill them.
Yeah.
It feels like with gun hunting, you can kind of really enjoy the show.
Yeah.
And you can kind of watch. And you hear guys talk a lot about that. You really get to just kind of savor in the moment. You know, when I take Jet out and we're gun hunting, I don't feel like I'm savoring the moment because I just think that I feel like as soon as we can try to get an opportunity to kill them, take it. Yep. Especially with kids. Like as soon as they come in and you can get a clean shot and put it where the ugly meets the pretty,
right?
Kill them.
Yep.
But I feel like what you hear a lot of, and when I've gun hunted, a lot too, you just really get to kind of sit there and savor it.
Right.
Really soak it in. You can kind of let them do their thing for as long as you want them to.
Beat the crap out of the decoys.
Yeah, or if you don't mind them, beat the crap out of your decoys, or if they're just going to stand there and strut and they're by themselves and they just kind of strut back and forth, they're turning where you get an itch or you can move a little bit and freeze again before he sees you.
Yeah.
That's nice. But with bow hunting, and I think that's what we've been talking a lot about is it's a different process.
Yeah.
Getting them close is only really a third of it. Mm-hmm. And then the big thing to do is to get them drawn.
Right.
Is to get drawn. And I think what you see me do and what I do a lot, and there are times where you just can't draw right off the bat. Yeah. I try to draw when they've got their fan away.
Yeah.
So if you can see their eyes, they can see you.
Yeah.
And if you move in that blind too much, especially the movement to draw a bow, man, they will pick you off.
Right.
And when they start to that emergency yelp and cluck and they stick their head up, they're never not moving the way it is. But when they get scared or nervous, they really don't ever not move.
Yeah.
And so it can get really tricky. Mm-hmm. That's what can be hard sometimes early too, when multiple birds come in.
Yeah. More eyes.
Oh man. Like that one year I killed that double, there was 2 toms and it was like to get them both turned away or both not looking your direction, that can be really tricky.
Yeah.
A lot of times what I'll try to do is if I can get one turned away, but one is looking, even if I'm drawing and I get spotted by the one, the other's still turning. He doesn't really understand what's going on. You still have time to get that shot off. But it's tricky getting drawn and then putting it on the right spot and killing them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a whole other thing, right? I get that question a lot when I get in the conversation about spring turkey hunting when guys are like, so you only bow hunt them? I'm like, oh yeah, I love that part. And then they say, well, where do you shoot them at? Like, do you shoot them in the head or do you shoot them in the body? I shoot them in the body.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do. I try to break them down. I hear guys that try to shoot them in the head.
Yeah.
Lop their head off or just shoot them straight in the head or however you want to do it. I don't know. I like shooting them in the body.
Yeah.
And then I think what I do notice a lot is you do see me a lot of times I'm, and you can kind of see it kind of right in that moment if he's really wounded hard and he's just kind of like, okay, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Or if he's, he's got a fighting chance. A lot of times I'll jump out and grab him,
Yeah,
exactly. Like I'm not going to give him the chance to kind of hobble off. I'm going to just stop him right there and like, okay, let's save both of us the trouble.
Yeah, definitely.
Type deal. What are you most excited about? Are you most excited about, well, I already know what the answer is going to be, but I mean, hearing them gobble? Are you most excited about when one starts coming in? Are you most excited about shooting one? Are you most excited about standing behind it?
I think I'm most excited to see if I can do it. I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, I'm really excited for all of it just because I really gained a new love for turkey hunting last year, and I'm just excited to do it again. Everything about it, seeing them, hearing them, getting them in close, but I'm really, really curious to see if I'll be able to, do that whole process and actually get it done. Being able to draw at the right time, hitting them in the right spot. It's going to be a huge challenge for me, I think. But I'm really excited to try it.
I don't think I've really mentioned this to you, but when you just said that, when it comes to turkey hunting with my bow, what I always think about too is a huge thing is, and it's not that it's different during deer season, because I kind of feel like I think about this too with deer hunting, but it feels like the vitals on a turkey is so small.
Yeah.
And it feels like because they're smaller like they are, and they're it's like they're a big ball, right? And the ball is just constantly kind of moving all the time, right?
Yeah.
What I do especially, because I think we'll see them. I think we'll get one in.
Yeah.
I think you'll get drawn.
Yeah.
If you just listen, right? Like, hey man, like I'll help you. Hey, draw. Wait, don't move. Wait, draw.
Yeah.
And then you'll get drawn. But the biggest thing I would say is when you get drawn and you're really bearing down and your adrenaline's pumping and you're super excited and everything's starting to feel like it's just tunnel vision.
Yeah.
The thing that I would say and the thing that goes through my mind constantly is take one more second. I will literally think in my head, I will draw and I will put it on them and then I will go take one more second.
Yep.
Is that where I want to be? And then let it go.
Right.
I think that's probably the biggest mistake that I have made years ago when I used to with a recurve, because my recurve, it was very much like a draw the bow back, anchor, let it go.
Yeah, exactly.
But then and that's really where that kind of started for me. What I would do is I would go, okay, even before I draw, I'd be like, okay, take one more second. Where do I want to hit? I want to hit right there. Okay, that's where I want to be. And then draw the bow.
Yeah.
But now with a compound, I'm like drawing, I'm sitting there, I'm holding it, I'm trying to get ready. And then I always say, take one more second. Take one more second. Yeah. Just take that one more second.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
because in that moment you can just be like, ah,
exactly.
and if you're off by that little bit, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Just take that one more second.
Yeah, and I think to be able to do this with a bow, I feel like you really got to be like what I keep thinking of is like you got to be a killer. Like if you're doing it with a shotgun, you got to be a good hunter because once you get them in with a shotgun, it's not 100%, but it's a heck of a lot easier, I think.
Yeah.
And here you really got to do it all. You got to be able to really be in that mindset to make a good shot. And that's something that I really, really, really struggle with. I think I'm a decent hunter where I can get in front of animals, but when it comes to killing them, everything just overtakes me and I get a terrible brain, basically. And so I think that's where...
I got a pretzel in my brain.
Yeah, literally. And so that's where I'm really excited to do this because I think it's going to be... If I can do it and really hone in on that, I think it could be a big step for me in all hunting, really.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm really excited.
Dude, and it's funny because when I was in my early 20s, when I started to bow hunt them, I was shooting a recurve bow. Mm-hmm. And I went a pile of years. I mean, dude... There was a bunch of years there in a row that I went out and I hunted hard.
Yeah.
I was going to college, so I could pull off setting my schedule in the spring so I could get out in the mornings.
Yeah.
And I would turkey hunt a lot.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm not going to lie, I wounded a bird here or there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I missed them. I mean, just clean up, missed them. Like there's the turkey and my arrow goes over here, goes over here, hits low or just hits nothing but feathers. Like, man, I struggled with my recurve.
Yeah.
That's all I had. That's all I hunted with.
Right.
And there was years that I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And like I said, chalk it up to experience, chalk it up to things not working out, chalk it up to just time has gone by or chalk it up to better spots or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think like better spots because I've had good turkeys then too, but been real fortunate here lately.
Yeah.
The last how many years, but it's hard with a bow.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, and there's a chance that you go out and like you don't kill one.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you miss, maybe you get drawn. And dude, there's been times that I've gotten drawn and then I can't get him to turn just right.
Right.
And you can only hold it for so long.
Yeah.
And then letting it down and trying to draw back, that is tough in a blind.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to get drawn, not let them see you. I like we've talked about this a lot, not on the podcast. And there's a bunch of great shot placement guides.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I still look at those. I mean, you saw me last spring. I'd be in the blind just pulling it up and going, okay, especially on a turkey with a bow. My always rule of thumb when it really comes down to it is go straight up from the feet and go straight back from the beard.
Right.
And that's where it intersects in whatever position they're in.
Yeah.
You can always kind of go off of that.
Yeah.
I think one of the big misconceptions, like on your shirt right now, that turkey, if you like show it at the camera, that turkey is broadside.
Yeah.
That turkey is broadside. But if that turkey starts to turn a little bit more towards us and we see more of his beard, and you can only see his left breast there, but if he turns more, you start to see his right, all of a sudden that vital point of impact changes.
Right.
And that's where it gets tricky,
Yeah.
And you hear some people that swear by a Texas heart shot, shoot them right up the old pooper.
Yeah.
That will go right into everything. I personally have never done that.
Yeah.
But I know guys that swear by that. So yeah, it's just I think the thing that I've always realized is they're just moving so much.
Yeah.
They just move so much.
Right.
And that's where like that taking that one more second to really go, okay, this is where I want my arrow to go.
Yeah.
Makes a heck of a difference.
Yep. Oh, it's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, dude. It's going to be a blast. And I've said this before. Spring probably is my favorite season.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to say that because I love to bow hunt deer and everything else, and fall is such a magical time.
Yeah.
But there's something about when everything starts to wake up and the birds are chirping and the grass is starting to turn green, and it's like those beautiful mornings.
Yep.
There's just something about that I just love that.
Right.
And seeing those toms out there, and it's like they're just so vibrant, you know?
Yeah.
In the fall, they don't look like that. And there's something to that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they molt and there's those beautiful feathers. There's just something about, like, they just glisten.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's weird because I feel like when you really look at the woods as in general, just like a piece of ground that you hunt or just the environment that's out there, every animal kind of has their glory days throughout the season.
Oh, without a doubt.
You know?
Yep.
And the month of April, that's the turkey's time.
Yeah.
That's his time to shine. Like, he takes over. You see them.
Mm-hmm.
They really run the show.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in the fall, it's not that turkeys aren't there, but they just kind of take a back seat.
Yeah.
And then guess what? Then it's a whitetail's turn
Yeah.
to shine.
Yep,
In the month of October and the month of December, they are really at their peak of their glory.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it's just really an exciting time of year. And there's just so much ahead of you in the spring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fun to turkey hunt. And then you know that those tree stands that you're walking by, like, okay, I'll be back.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's just a really, really fun time.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And you got some big plans. That's the other thing to talk about that I think you were like, oh crap, maybe I should check into that. If you're trying to shoot a turkey, I personally just do a lot of, I shoot them and I breast them.
Yeah.
And then I just lay out the fan myself.
Mm-hmm.
I use borax and I kind of dry them out. I dry them out for a few weeks and then they stay pretty good. I cut off their spurs and I have like a kind of a thing that I hang them on.
Yeah.
I keep the beards all together type thing. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But you've talked about wanting to maybe mount it.
Yeah. The way I look at it is like it's my first one.
It was only the first one once.
Yeah, it's only my first one once, and I think it'd be really sweet to have a full turkey mount, full strut. And I was talking with Uncle Zip about it.
Yep.
And he was saying that it'd be kind of cool to just like, you know, hopefully there's a room that's full of, you know, mounts and stuff like that. And so you got all your deer mounts, then in the corner you just have it all set up with a big old turkey mount, and then that can be the turkey corner.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, that would be really sweet. Because
Yeah.
I don't plan on doing too much with all of my turkeys that I
Yes.
hopefully end up killing, but it'd be really sweet to just have that first one be the kind of the center point of it, just because it's the first one.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's awesome. And the thing that I think that what I kind of shed light on for you with that whole thing is if you are thinking about wanting to try to mount one, you should be trying to call a couple taxidermists. And I think you were like, dang, maybe I should do that.
Yeah.
Because I think what ends up happening is a guy kills a turkey and then he's like, man, I want to mount this, but he hasn't really even, and you know, you're not trying to get the cart in front of the horse,
Yeah.
but you haven't even done any research. Like, well,
Yeah.
geez, like, how do I feel just this thing the right way? Like, what do you recommend? Does some taxidermists have a certain way that they want it done, or they don't want it done?
Yeah.
Bop, you know what I mean? Like, and so just to make sure that you're trying to kind of do things the right way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think you have called a couple of people, even just trying to price shop a little bit. Like, hey man, what does it cost for a full strut tom? Like, what do you guys charge? Oh, well, we're at this price. Oh, okay. And then you call another guy. Hey man, didn't you get a full strutter done? Yeah. Who'd you do it? Oh, I did it with Tommy down over here.
Yeah.
Can I get his number? Yeah. And then you call, oh yeah, man. And that's half the price. You're like, oh, okay, well, that guy had a good experience. That's not as much as that. Maybe I'll go over here.
Yeah.
Hey, how do you want it field dressed? Is there a certain thing? Some guys are like, no man, just bring me the whole turkey.
Yeah.
Like, or if you can get it in a freezer and then we'll breast it out after the fact, I'll call you when I get, or just breast it out, leave everything else.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I think that leads also into, you know, that kind of leads right into the other thing I wanted to say is you see a lot of guys killing turkeys, but you don't see a lot of them displayed anywhere. You're like, where do all the fans go?
Yeah.
Where do all the spurs go? Like, where does everything all go? And so I think over the years, I have seen some things that I really think look really sharp that you can even just kind of do yourself.
Yeah.
Like with Jet, I've been kind of keeping all his fans off to the side. And I want to do it where I've seen things where they mount the fans vertically, kind of one in front of the other.
Yep.
And you can mount a whole pile of them, and it doesn't take up a ton of space.
Yeah.
There was an archery shop in Rochester, Minnesota, archery headquarters. The owner of that shop, he would keep his fans, and he kind of started it at the top, and then he just kept layering fans over it.
Yeah.
And he had this whole wall of
full of them.
fans.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. I actually have a pretty cool thing in my office of it almost looks like a turkey rug.
Yeah.
So I take the fan, then I take all the back feathers, I took the wings, everything that I could, the breast feathers, and I laid them all flat.
Yeah.
And it looks like a turkey rug. I mean, it's the entire turkey.
Yeah.
And then I borax and I put a bunch of weights on it. And I just lay it flat for 6 months, 3 or 4 months, and then check it every once in a while, put a little more borax on it where I can. So yeah, I think there's, like we were at the NWTF show, they make these cool, like, wooden plaques and types things where you can hang all of your beards or your spurs or your feet type deal. And you see some guys too that will just take like one feather from the fan, right? They've got them in a hat, or they've just got them lined up like all in a row. Like this was that one feather. I'll tell you one thing that I would really urge you to do that.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Really?
Yeah.
That I wish I would have done. I've done it one time, and I saw it in NWTF, and I was like, man, I really dropped the ball on that one. So turkeys, a lot like a chicken, have a gizzard, and pheasants do the same thing. They'll be out on the gravel road. They'll be pecking up rocks. Chickens do the same thing. Turkeys do the same thing. We were at NWTF years ago, and I saw a guy that had all these little vials. They were just these small little things, little glass jars, him all lined up. And you looked really close on him, and it had a date and the state. He would open up the gizzard, and he would cut out all the rocks, put them into something, clean them all up, and then put them in these little jars.
Yep.
And so I was like, I talked to him. I was like, now that is awesome. He's like, yeah, I just, some people are about the spurs, and that's really cool too. I was like, but I don't know. Like, he's like, these rocks, they really tell a story of like where this bird lived.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes the spurs tell a cool story too, because like when I was guiding in Colorado, the spurs were always worn down because it was mountains. It was rocky.
Yeah.
You get in the South, and man, some of those spurs look like you could use them as like a self-defense weapon. You could use them as like coat hangers.
Yeah.
Here it can be hit and miss. Sometimes we get real crankers, and other times it's just like normal.
Yeah.
But like said, out west, they're just worn down. But it was funny because he's like, yeah, these rocks, they really tell a story of like where that turkey lived and the environment where he was raised. And I was like, man, dude, I mean, like, I was like getting goosebumps. I was like, that is so awesome. So that spring, I was bound and determined. I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm going to do this. So I cut out the gizzard and I started to cut it open. The disclaimer.
I've seen videos of them doing it.
You better be ready, baby. That turkey makes you earn it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that gizzard, it is pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
Because literally, like, the corn and beans go in there, and then it helps break it up.
Yeah.
And it is gross. And it is smelly. And it's green and yellow. And it looks like mushy puke.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it makes me like almost gag a little. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't watch your videos. I just literally started, because you can hold it. It feels like a hacky sack.
Feel it.
Yeah, it feels like a hacky sack. It's like you can move it around. You can hear the rocks in there. And I was like, well, I guess figure this out. So I just literally just cut around the outside of it, and I just very slowly kind of cut it open, and I filleted it open.
Yeah.
And then what I did is I just kind of like scratched out all the goopy crappy with the rocks in it. And then I put it on a paper towel, and then I very slowly, First, I just kind of like, I knew enough to probably put it on a paper towel. So I had it on a paper towel, but then I just kind of wet the paper towel, and then it got really nasty. I was like, oh man. So I grabbed more paper towels, and I grabbed a paper plate, And then I just kind of kept wetting it down, and the goopy stuff kind of got more watery.
Yeah.
And then I started to put it then I kind of like picked out the big pieces. Then I scratched all the other stuff like in a container, and then I kind of whooshed it around, and I kept separating it.
Yep.
You could probably use like a coffee filter.
Yeah.
Some things like that. Maybe you do it over again, it would be better.
Strainer of some sort.
Yeah, but you just kind of keep doing it because there's a couple really big rocks in there, but there's lots of small rocks.
Yeah.
And it was actually really cool.
Yeah.
I kept it in the garage for the longest time, and then I think one of the kids knocked it over. I noticed there was rocks everywhere, and I was like, what are all these rocks? I was like, oh, that was the gizzard I worked so hard on.
It's my gizzard stones.
And my gizzard stones for my turkey. Oh. But if I could do it over again, I would have taken the time on every turkey and made those little deals and just set them somewhere.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, because it was really neat to see. And I remember this guy had killed turkeys all over the country. And there was dark brown rocks and black rocks and red rocks and river rock and looked like mountain rocks. And it was all these different colors. It was so cool. And even like in the same state, you could see the different colors and just like the different types of rocks. And they're all very polished, right? Because they just sit in there and they rub together.
Right.
And they were all polished down. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So.
No, it would be cool to do that.
It's gross.
But it's worth it.
And it's worth it. I would wear some rubber gloves.
It's not gross when it's sitting up on the mantle.
Yeah, and you can find some really cool little deals to put them in. Yeah.
Little vials.
I'll tell you what, the other thing that you'll be excited to use is my turkey carrier. My leather turkey carrier.
I'm excited for all of it. I just hope we can get it to come together. I can reel myself in and
Here's my big thing, dude. And I feel like with this spring especially, I feel more of like the guiding mentality.
Yeah.
Like I can really tell that I'm like really in the hunting by default type of thing. Like if I get to go, that's great. But I really feel like it's like, okay, get Jet one, get Bo one, get Wyatt, get Marshall. If Justin can pull off a day not far, get him one.
Yep.
And I really feel like every chance that you can pull off to go, I won't even bring my bow.
Yeah.
It's like, you got 2 archery tags, let's get you 2 of them.
Yeah.
But it's like, the biggest thing I would say is just listen to me.
No, yeah, I know. Well, I have to. I have to because I'm so green with all this.
Just listen to me.
Like literally everything.
Like when we're sitting there and I say calm down, just calm down. Like try to breathe. Like you don't have to get all worked up. Like it's awesome to watch them and be in the moment, but like don't be too in the moment. You know what I mean? Like try to stay present. Don't get like the cart way in front of the horse and be thinking about all these things that you're going to do after the fact. Like, okay, just I'm going to wait till he tells me to draw, and then I'm going to draw. And now I'm just going to take one more second, and I'm going to pick a spot. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, turkey's dead out there in the field.
Yeah.
I think you'll do good. Just listen.
Yeah.
And it'll be fun.
It's going to be really fun.
Can I be the one that gets to buzz your mullet off?
No. Nope. Not letting that happen.
Okay. Let's just do this. Let's do a side bet.
No.
Come on. Hear me out. If you kill and just saying, if this works out, if you end up killing 2 turkeys with your bow this spring, and I'll even throw another parlay on there. If you kill 2 turkeys with your bow this spring, they're both toms and they both weigh over 18 pounds.
Okay.
You have to keep your mullet for a whole nother year.
I'm not shaking on that.
Come on. That's a good bet. Do you know how cool of a bet that is? So when all of a sudden you're at a wedding and they're like, hey man, I thought you were supposed to cut your mullet. You're like, yeah, well, I ended up doing a parlay that if I killed 2 birds over 18 pounds with my bow, I had to keep it going. So when in Rome, that would be awesome.
I can't
That's an awesome bet. That's a great story. That's like, how'd you get a tattoo of a pirate on your arm? You're like, well, it was a crazy night.
No, I can't do that. Well, I would consider keeping the mullet, but I don't want to just let it go.
Oh, come on.
I'll keep a mullet, but I want to be able to like cut it down.
So let's say this. You can cut down the business side.
No.
But you got to leave the party side.
No.
You can't turn the volume down on the party. You got to keep the volume cranked.
It's still going to be a mullet, just won't be as long.
That's a great bet. That would make for a great story.
No, because then the pressure would really be on me all year. I already feel the pressure simply because of the mullet.
That is so funny. Oh, when you're sitting in the ground blind and a turkey comes in, are you going to like take your hat and throw it on the ground so your mullet can be in its like full glory?
Yeah, I'm going to run out and grab it. Hopefully there's a little bit of a wind in my face. No, it's super funny. So
the grid that you just did was really funny.
So no, this is really off topic, but my best friend Mikey, shout out Mikey, he listens to every podcast, and he's marrying my first cousin Allie.
Yeah,
and they always say, "So is it your best friend's wedding or your cousin's wedding?" And he called me out at Easter the other day. He's like, "Yeah, I noticed in the podcast you keep saying that you have your cousin's wedding."
Oh,
I'm
snap.
like, "Oh, dang it!" So I just had to make it clear right there. I said, "I got my cousin Allie's wedding and my best friend Mikey's wedding."
Oh, that's funny. It's funny. I get in trouble for that with my brother-in-law because I call him my brother-in-law, and he's like, "Well, aren't we best friends?" And I was like, "Yeah, but you're my brother-in-law." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always call my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gives me a hard time for that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So moral of the story is I need to kill a turkey so I can look just clean shaven, looking nice and clean for Mikey and Allie's wedding.
Come on, man. That's such a good bet. Just take the bet. That's a great parlay. Come on.
Let me think on it.
No. I'll even sweeten it. I'll sweeten it one deeper. If you shoot 2 turkeys with a bow, they weigh over 18 pounds apiece. I'll even throw in $100.
How about if I shoot 2 turkeys with a bow, you have to grow out a mullet?
No way.
Why?
No way. Okay. I'll final offer. You have to keep your mullet growing. If you shoot 2 turkeys with a bow, they weigh over 20 pounds. And if you do all that, then I will grow a mullet for not set amount of time.
I just hate it because it's like it would be a huge accomplishment for me to shoot 2 toms with my bow on my first year of turkey hunting
And
then
be over 20 pounds.
and I'm getting punished for it.
So I'm just saying that if you don't take the bet now, I'm rescinding it completely.
You're not even giving me a chance to just.
Nope. Countdown's coming. 5, 4, 3, 2,
I don't
1.
know. I have no idea.
That's the sound of a sensor when you swear, or that means bet's off. No bet.
Okay. No bet.
No extra. You could have made $100.
It's all right.
Got a lot of stuff for $100. But
Not in this day and age.
I guess not. Whatever. Thought we were having fun. I guess not. I'm just kidding. It's fine. Oh, you know what I haven't said during this podcast that I say I think I like about every podcast?
Interesting.
Nope. I've said interesting, I'm pretty sure. Moral of the story.
Oh, yeah, true. Let's hear it. What's the moral of the story?
Moral of the story is turkey season's here.
Yep.
Moral of the story is you better be ready.
Yep. And I think that's about all we needed to say.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's an exciting time. It's finally here. I know I've been counting it down for a while.
Yeah, definitely.
I bet we've seriously been counting down turkey season since right after Harrisburg, mid-February.
Oh, I bet you earlier than that. As soon as deer season got done, it's like, all right, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, that was probably true.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
hey, we didn't even mention the fact that we got a new hot rod in the back end. The old e-bike, the old Rambo. That's going to really open up some possibilities, save us a little time here and there.
I think that's going to help us a lot.
Yeah.
Just like yesterday, real muddy out, had one of our cameras die. There's a 0% chance we would have been able to get through with the truck.
Nope.
Toss the e-bike out of the bed of the truck. Zoop, zoop, done.
Yep.
Just like that.
Should have probably cut that one branch because that has been giving you a bunch of wind trips today.
I know. I think one of the branches might have broke.
Or I think you maybe moved it a skosh to the left on accident, maybe a little bit. It seems like it's more to the left.
Maybe.
Tomato.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that e-bike is going to be fun this spring because I'll tell you what, hunting with the kids and even just hunting you and I, there's some things that I take turkey hunting that aren't really necessary. You don't really need to bring a heater. Really nice to have,
Yeah.
just to take the little bit of the cold off in the morning.
Yeah.
I bring a blanket for the floor.
Yep.
Used to never do that, but that really helps quiet everything down.
Mm-hmm.
When your feet are moving on the grass, it just kind of makes noise. When you have a blanket down,
Yeah.
it just quiets it down. But you've got chairs and you got stakes and you got the blind, and it just gets to be a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so your bike and that trailer is going to be nice. Even just to go load that trailer up, you ride it in there. I'll just walk. I don't mind walking.
Yeah.
Just walk everywhere the rest of the time.
Yeah.
It's fine. But man, it's just nice not to have to carry it all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets to be a lot for sure, especially when you got
Yep.
decoy bags, blind on your back.
Yeah, decoys. I forgot about decoys.
Yeah. So,
I know when we go out there, it's so much stuff.
oh, it's unreal.
It is so much stuff.
But you need it. Works good.
Yeah,
So.
it does work good. All right, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Episode 49 in the books. Ozonics Killerwinds podcast. Thanks for listening. If you're listening to this, good luck out there. Like I said, season 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you're doing. If you've already been out taking some of your own kids or some friends, youth turkey hunting, that's awesome too. It is finally here.
Yep.
And it is going to ramp up.
Yep. Get after them, and more importantly, be safe.
We might have a few updates here and there, little turkey season updates as
Yep.
the season unfolds.
A little quick. Boop.
Maybe a little footage, maybe a little footage here and there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Maybe a little Ric Flair. Maybe
Yeah.
a little woo.
Yeah.
Me getting excited.
Yeah.
All right. Stay classy.
See you next week.